Okay. Hello, everybody. We just had a very beautiful drive-by. When I was a kid, obviously drive-by meant something very, very different. I like this one a lot better. And as you can see, it was a tad wet outside. So, yeah, I apologize. I apologize for my appearance, although the colors have nothing to do uh, with the wetness. So, well.
You're driving.
No, I'm not driving. I'm not driving. My boss over here is driving.
Thank God. Okay, good.
Yeah, and she's an excellent driver. Not to worry. I would not be live zooming while I was driving for sure not. So, today we are going to do the final parak, the final chapter, the final episode of Megilat Ruth for 2020 for this year, which is very exciting for very many reasons. And we're going to speak a little bit more today in detail about why it is that this Yibum thing, this leper marriage thing, is so important, and what that has to really do with Sodom and Gomorrah, even though seemingly that was a long time before. But it turns out that time in Judaism, well, yeah. Anyway, so we will continue. As we left off, Ruth had gone down to the Goren, to the place where they had, where Boaz was getting all his money, and essentially the big harvest, and they're taking in all the money and they're piling it up in these big barrels or bundles or however it goes over there. And at that point, in the middle of the night, Naomi tells Ruth, you go there and you uncover his foot, Boaz's foot. First, you have to see where he is because, it's going to be dark, and you have to make sure that nobody sees you because that would be very, very, shall we say, untoward and unladylike. So it's not going to be a thing to do. Also, we'll see that there are other reasons why she can't do that. But then you'll take off his shoe and lay down, and he'll tell you what to do. So when Boaz is sleeping, and all of a sudden there's this young girl uncovers his shoe, and he's like, who are you? And then he realizes that it's Ruth, and he goes, oh my gosh, wow, I realize that you, who are going to be the mother, the eventual mother of the monarchy, of the Malchut Yisrael, you have come to me, Boaz, even though I'm an old man, instead of going to one of the young bucks, because I am, in fact, the best man for the job. That's incredible. And he says, even though I want to be first in line, I'm not first in line, I'm second in line. There's somebody who is closer, who is a closer relative than I, and that is my elder brother. Now, you'll recall that we mentioned yesterday that he said to her, I have to give someone else the first shot at redeeming you. And he says, he says, if he redeems you, good, and if not, then I'll redeem you. But it's so much more than that. It's so much better than that. His brother's name was Tov. So when he says, Im yigalech Tov, yigal, it means if Tov will do it, then fine. It doesn't just mean fine, it's good. It means if my brother, whose name is Tov, decides to redeem you, then he gets you first. And if not, then I will, of course, and therefore go to sleep, and we'll figure it out in the morning. So we begin now the fourth and ultimate chapter. Boaz Allah Hashar. And Boaz went up to the gate. Now, why the gate? Why did he go to the gate? So we know that in Jewish cities, the Bezdin, the court, convenes at the gate of the city. It doesn't mean that they're literally in the gate. It means that they're next to the entrance of the city. So, for example, if you can imagine what Jaffa Gate looks like, it means that there would be a court. There would be a Beit Din right next to the gate. And that way, anybody who came into the city who had a problem, that's where the markets are, if there has to be something to be adjudicated, that's the perfect place. So Boaz, we're going to see, obviously feels like he needs a court for some reason. So Boaz Allah Hashar vayeshev sham, and Boaz went up to the gate and he sat there. And sure enough, wouldn't you know it, walks who would come? His brother. The Goel that Boaz had mentioned the day before shows up. Wow. And he didn't call him. He sat there and the guy literally walked by. Vayomer, and he says, Surah Shvapo, Ploni Almoni. Come sit here, Ploni Almoni. What's Ploni Almoni? Ploni Almoni is the Jewish equivalent of Anonymous, of John Doe. That's what Ploni means. Ploni means what's his name? What's his face? Ploni Almoni. So Ploni Almoni is a double language, as we'll see that Shmuel, who's the author of this book, is taking him to task. His real name is Tov, but the Medrash says that the reason that he loses his name is specifically because he was unwilling to redeem Ruth. So he's called Ploni Almoni. Ploni means so-and-so. Come sit here, so-and-so. What's your name? Almoni. Almoni is a double language of so-and-so, but also it comes from the language of Alman, which is a widower. because this person who is so afraid, as we're going to see, of entering into this relationship is going to end up, instead of that, being essentially bereft of a legacy and of a dynasty. So just come sit here. Vayosar, vayeshev. Vayosar means, and he turned. He turned and he sat, meaning he wasn't expecting to meet him there that day. This he wasn't expecting to see Boaz when he walked into town to go to his job in the real estate office. He walks by the gate, and sure enough, there's Boaz. Everybody knows Boaz. First of all, Boaz is my brother. Second of all, not only am I related to him, but he's Boaz is a really, really important guy. Very rich, very influential, very holy, all that jazz, politically connected. He's the most powerful man in the country politically. And when he says that Vayasar Vayeshev, he turned from what he was doing and he sat down immediately. And he took. Isn't that great? He took. It's like it gives you that idea that he literally grabbed them with his hands, which is, kind of sort of what he did. He grabs 10 people from the elders of the city. It doesn't mean old people. It doesn't mean he went to the nursing home and said, I would like your 10 oldest residents, please, to come out here. No, he's saying that he took 10 men who were the Ziknei Ha'ir. It means the elders, not the olders, but the elders. These people are the leaders. They are the Jewish knowledgers. I just said that. Oh my, I just said knowledgers. These are the biggest Talmidei Chachamim. These are the Jewish great ones, the Gedolim. And he said to them, Shvu po, sit here. Vayishevu, when they sat, for the same reason that Ploni Almoni did, because they understand who Boaz is. Boaz is a heavy dude. Vayomer lagoel. And he says to the Redeemer, because notice, as of now, he is the Goel. Chelkas hasadeh asher la'achinu le'Elimelech. The part of the field that is for our brother, for Elimelech, Machra Naomi hashava mistei Ephron. His wife Naomi has sold, who is returning from Mistei Moab, from the fields of Moab. Why was she selling the field? Remember, we said they were penniless. They lost all their money. They were massively wealthy when they left to the fields of Moab, but when they came back totally empty-handed and debt-ridden, which means that she had to sell all the family real estate for the debts, and she was still penniless and had to live. So you can imagine, if a person was worth, $300 million, and now you're $2 billion in the red, you're in big trouble. So he says, our brother Elimelech, his part of the field. Why his part of the field? Because we all have an ancestral field here. We're a very wealthy family from Beit Lechem Yehuda. Means we have this. Whoop, we have this incredible field. We have this incredible field that belongs to the family, and Elimelech got one piece of it, and now Naomi, his widow, has to sell it. V'ani amarti. So I said to myself, I would tell you first. I give you first dibs. Why don't you buy it in front of all the elders, in front of all of the elders and the gedolim of our people? Why don't you buy it? If you want to redeem it, great, redeem it. Vimlo yigal. And if you don't want to redeem it, hakidali, then just tell me. That's fine. And I will know that there's no one other than you to redeem this. I'm after you. I'm number 2 in line. So, if you're not going to do it, I need to know. I figured I would tell you. It wasn't a big deal. I just figured I'd tell you. And he says, I will redeem it. I understand this is a big money field. They just talk so casually about it. If you read in the Torah how important it is that if a person, God forbid, is forced because of financial hardships to sell their stei achuza, to sell their field that comes to them in the land of Eretz Yisrael from their shvatim, from their beit avotav, from their mishpachot. This is the field that's literally theirs from God Almighty. If a person is forced, God forbid, to sell such a field, there's a major inyan, there's a major idea, a major mitzvah, a close member of the family to redeem that field so that it remains in the family. That's the idea, which you'll notice is not merely the idea by a field, but also the idea by yibum. So he says, buy the field. So Ploni Almoni says, of course, I'll buy the field, 100%. What is it? $15 million? I got you. I'll do it. Vayomer Boaz. And now Boaz says, by the way, on the day that you buy the field from Nami's hands, you also, this field, remember, Elimelech was the owner of this entirety of the field. And he had 2 sons, Machlon and Kilion. And the only person who remains from all those people is Ruth, the Moabite convert. So he says, you're obviously buying it from her too. Have I mentioned? Lahakim Shem Hamesal Nachalaso. To do levirate marriage with Ruth and not only buy the field and redeem the field, but also to redeem her and to redeem the name of the dead who doesn't have any Yorshim, who doesn't have any continuity because he died without children. Notice Boaz didn't say that the first time, did he? Boaz first said all about, it's really about a field. This is about a field. Do you want to buy the field? Want to buy the field? Yeah, I'll buy the field. Oh, I forgot to mention, you also have to marry the widow of Machlon, who happens to be a convert that people have a lot of discussion about and argument as to whether or not she's allowed to in fact marry a Jew. But Yomer HaGoel. And the Redeemer says, Lo Haligoli, I can't redeem that. I can't redeem that. Lest I destroy Ashchit. Do you understand Ashchit? It literally means destruction. Lest I destroy my legacy. Because if I marry this girl, this Ruth, since she's a Moabite, and many, many Jews say that a Moabite is not allowed to marry into the nation of the Jews, that will mean that all the children that I have from her are not going to get into Cheder. They're not going to be able to go to Jewish camp. I'm going to get kicked out of the shul. They're not going to give me Aliyah's. No one's going to give me Shlishi. Sorry, can't happen. I can't do it. So sorry. You redeem my redemption, because I can't redeem. And you can hear in the words of Ploni Almoni, not so much hesitation, and not so much stammering, but you can hear how strongly he fears about this idea. So he knows it's very important. He was willing to put down the millions of dollars immediately, but then the second you said the word Yibam with Ruth the Moabite, all of a sudden he says, Lo chaligoli penashchis nachlosi ga'alachas kulosi kilo chaligol. I can't redeem it. You redeem it. You redeem it because I can't redeem it. I wish I could redeem it, but if I redeemed it, my legacy would be destroyed. So you redeem it because I can't redeem it. Why is he saying it like that? He's put completely on the spot. He's totally surprised. And he can't do it. He can't bring himself to do it. And again, remember, that's what we call with no name. No name. He wouldn't marry. He was afraid that he would lose his name. He would lose his house. Can you imagine? He would have been the ultimate father of the house of David. And instead, he loses his name completely because he's recorded merely as that guy. Whenever a business deal was going down in the olden days in Israel, you can't just, say, hey, we're going to do this and we do this. No, you have to make a symbolic gesture so that everybody understands you're totally serious and you're not just discussing something. You're not really discussing it. No, you're going to make, this is our final deal. Shalaf ishna alov asan l'reyehu. A person, to show the finality of any deal or any agreement, would remove his shoe and hand it to the other person, because there could be no possible misunderstanding that that's what that means, right? People don't generally walk in, oh, hello, old chap, can you hold my phone? Maybe that can happen. Can you hold my Starbucks coffee? Maybe that can happen back in the days of Starbucks coffee. But no one's ever said, pardon me, can you hold my shoe? No, so obviously it's for a kinyan. V'zos ha'teudah b'Yisrael. This is the way that it would be proven in Israel. Vayomer hagoel leBoaz kinei lach. And the Redeemer, because in fact he should have been the Redeemer, says to Boaz, kinei lach, you acquire it. Vayishlof na'alo. He wipes off his shoe. And you'll notice giving over the ability to do this redemption and to do this yibum with Ruth to Boaz has a double meaning by the shoe. Because after all, what's the most famous ritual in Judaism involving a shoe? Chalitza. Chalitza. When a person chooses not to marry the wife, the widowed wife of his dead family member, to regrow that person's legacy. When he doesn't do that, she removes his shoe. And that's what we're doing over here. Vayomer Boaz lazakenim b'chol ha'am. And Boaz says to the elders and to everybody who's there. Remember, this is the opening. This is the opening of the gates of Beit Lechem. This is like a serious place, and all the very important people are there. Why is it so important that he does it by a Beit Din? He is saying that it is totally allowed to marry a Moabite, as we discussed yesterday, because it's Moaviv lo Ma'avit. So I know, says Boaz, I know that there are many people that aren't going to feel comfortable with this. I know that there are many people that are perhaps, I don't want to say square. It's not that they're square. It's that they're mistaken and overly machmir in a way that would be awful. Can you imagine if Doeg Adomi and those evil people had their way of the house of David, if they got their way? And they were very religious people, make no mistake. They were, in fact, incredibly learned people. So Boaz takes a stand at the gate in front of the greatest minds of Judaism, in front of the greatest court, and says, "You are Edom. You are witnesses today, and you can testify that I said that a Moabite is not allowed to marry into the Jewish people, but a Moabitess can, as explained by what we described yesterday." And you notice he said all this when he wasn't the one who was supposed to marry her. He said all this when there was a closer Goel, a closer Redeemer. After he had explained that everyone can marry a Moabitess, he says to his brother, "Will you marry the Moabitess?" And he says, "My brother, with all due apologies and all due respect, I heard what you said about Moabite, not Moabitess, and yada, yada, yada. But at the end of the day, I have 3 kids in Shidduchim, and I'm trying to get my younger son into Chavin Yeshiva. I can't do it. I can't do it." So he says to all of them, "Very well, very well. Vayomer Boaz, Eidim atem hayom, you are all witnesses today. Ki kaniti et kol asher leElimelech. I have bought back all that was in the original estate of Elimelech, a massive amount of money, all of it. That kol asher lechilyon u'machlon miyad na'ami, and all that was remaining of the children, machlon and kilyon, all of that estate I have bought back. V'gamas Ruth haMoaviyah ishes machlon kanisim l'isha, and also Ruth the Moabitess, right? Isn't it great? Ruth haMoaviyah. He stresses it. This isn't hush hush. This isn't swept under the table. This is front and center. And from Ruth the Moabite, I stress that she's a Moabitess, the wife of Machlon, I've acquired as a wife Lahakim Shem Hames Al Nachla, so to reinstate the legacy of the dead. And let not the dead be forgotten and lost from his brothers in his place. You are witnesses. And all of the elders that were there, and all of the people that had gathered around, because you can imagine, here are all these Gedolim sitting around having like some kind of a court case, and here's Boaz, the billionaire shofet. I mean, you want to see what's going on there, right? You want to take a selfie. So they all said, Eidim. May God make this woman who comes to your home like Rachel and Leah. We will express the depth of that statement in a moment. Asher banu shteihem et beis Yisrael, that they build together the house of Israel. Va'asei chayil be'Ephrasa, and may you create valor in Ephrat. U'kra shem bebeis Lechem, and may you create a big name in Bethlehem. So this is so interesting because you'll notice who are the people here. This is Beit Lechem, smack bang in the middle of the region of Judah. This is Judean territory, baby. You know, we talk about Rachel. We don't talk so much about Rachel in these parts. We are the children of Leah. Not now, though. Not now. Because this is recognized that we are reintegrating the lost piece of Klal Yisrael that we need, that emerges from all of Beis Yisrael. So now that is happening, they say to him, may this girl who comes into your house be like Rachel and Leah. And remember, Rachel is first. For the first time, I think, in Jewish history, the children of Leah admit that Rachel was the main wife of Yaakov. That they built together. Because remember, this is all of us together, the Judean monarchy. It's not just Yehuda. It's all of us together. It's Yisrael. That they built together, Beis Yisrael, and may they make a name in Beit Lechem. Are you freaking kidding me? And may your house be like the house of Peretz. That Tamar gave birth to Yehuda. From the seed that God gives you from this young girl. Peretz. Peretz is what? His great-great-great-grandfather? I don't understand. When's the last time? Can you imagine? You're at a wedding, and the groom getting married happens to be the great-great-great-great-great-grandson of, I don't know, some famous person, Abraham Lincoln. And they say, may your house be like Lincoln. Like, really? I mean, it's like a lot of generations. I have 15,000 cousins and 80,000 second cousins. Like, it seems like a strange thing. And why Peretz specifically? I mean, have we been listening since the beginning of the book? The whole idea of Elimelech going to Moab in the first place was to find a Moabite princess so that we can have a kingdom. And we know where the kingdom comes from. The kingdom comes from Yehuda. But the kingdom doesn't come from anywhere in Yehuda. Yehuda has 3 sections. Peretz, Zarach, and Shelah. The Malchut, the monarchy, older. The Malchut comes from Peretz. That's why Melech Derech. The king, the word Peretz means to bust through and to knock down. King busts from Peretz. This is from Marti Yehuda, which is actually incestuous Yid relationship, which we'll discuss again at length in a few moments. So everybody recognizes that that's what we're rebuilding, that is what we're, and we learn it like in minds that this was what was happening. And Boaz took Ruth, and she was a wife to him, and he came to her. And Hashem gave her a pregnancy, and she and Hashem gave her, right? And he came to her, and Hashem gave her. Oh, I'm breaking up for a moment. Oh, it's because I'm going over the 195. Sorry, we're going to give this 1 second. I apologize. I'm going over the 195. Just a moment. Just a moment. I'm sorry. Can I get a thumb up if you can hear me now? Oh, fantastic. Appreciate it. Okay. Why does it say? Oh, and he married her and he came to her and God gave her a pregnancy and she had a son. It's a strange way to say it. So the way the understanding is Boaz died immediately after he impregnated Ruth. The whole reason that Boaz lived so long in the first place, this guy was an old fart. Do you know why he lived that long? Because we needed a donor. We needed a king. So he lived longer. And Hashem gave her a pregnancy. I mean, it's unbelievable. Do you understand the chesed of Ruth? She knows that he's not going to be around a long time. She knows that. But she's building something. She's investing in something. It's amazing. So she has a son. And all the women say to Naomi, notice she's Naomi again. Right? She's not Mara anymore. She's Naomi again. She's no longer bitterness. She's now pleasantness. And all the women said to Naomi, as opposed to the last time that people spoke to Naomi. It wasn't to Naomi. It was about Naomi. When Naomi came to town, that was the last time any woman spoke to Naomi, and that's recorded in the book. So the first time they get to Beis Lechem, and she's got this, Korean daughter-in-law, and everyone's like, oh my God, is that Naomi? Oh my God, wow. And now they say to Naomi, Baruch Adonai asher lo hishbis lach goel hayom. Baruch Hashem, that he did not make waste for you. Hishbis, to stop. You understand? Shabbos means to rest. He didn't rest for you a redeemer today. Do you understand? When they came back to Beit Lechem, that was what Naomi kept saying time and time again. She goes, no one's going to marry me and no one's going to marry you. Hashem wasn't mashbiz. You will go. V'karei shemo b'Yisrael, and may he call a name in Israel. V'karei shemo b'Yisrael, it should be very familiar terminology to anybody who goes to bris. Anytime you go to a bris, before you name the kid, you say, V'karei shemo b'Yisrael, and his name in Israel should be. So you can name him William Quigley III, but at the end of the day, Chaim Yaakov, of course, Chaim Shmuley, yes. Okay. So, V'hayalach lemeshiv nefesh, and he will be for you for a nachas, u'lechalkel esevasech, and to take care of you in your old age. Ki kalasech asher ahavasech yiladatu, because your daughter-in-law who loves you has given birth to him. Asher hi tovalach mishiv abanim. She is better for you. She's worth more to you than 7 sons. Vatikach Naomi es hayeled, and Naomi took this child. Vatishiseu b'cheka, and she set him in her bosom. Vatihi lo la'omenes, and she was for him a wet nurse. And Chazal say, there's a medrash that in fact God made a miracle and she was able to nurse him. True, untrue, literal, not literal, I don't know. It doesn't matter. You get the point. The point is she is raising her grandson, sort of, if you think about it. Sort of grandson, sort of not. Vatikrena lo hashchenos shem lemor, and all of the neighbors called him by saying, "You let Maylin Naomi. Naomi had a kid." Even though like Naomi didn't have a kid. Ruth had a kid. This is Naomi's kid. No one knows this Ruth character. This is a yibum that's being done for the family of Elimelech for Naomi. This is all about Naomi. It's not about Ruth. Vatikrena shmo Oved, and she called his name Oved, who Avi Yishai, Avi David. He is the father of Yishai, who is the father of David. And now here ends the Megillah, and it's crazy, man. It's crazy how the Megillah ends. The Eila told those parrots. These are the generations of parrots. Peretz holidus Chetzron. The Chetzron holidus Ram. The Ram holidus Aminadav. Aminadav holidus Nachshon. The Nachshon holidus Salmon. The Salmon holidus Boaz. The Boaz holidus Oved. The Oved holidus Yishai. The Yishai holidus David. That's 10 generations. Do you know how many years that is? That's like a long, long time in years. 800 years, something like that. Like 10 generations. So Yehuda has Peretz, Chetzron, Ram, Aminadav, Nachshon, Salma, Boaz, Oved, Yishai, David. 10. It's a long time. Why are you going back to Peretz? But that's exactly what they told him when he was going to marry her. They said, and let your house be like the house of Peretz. Do you remember what it was when David kills the giant with a rock? He knocks the mountain's brains out of the back of his head, cuts his head off with his own sword, and starts whistling like he's in a Disney movie as he holds the dripping bloody head of Shaq, dancing back to the Jewish lines. And Shaul sees this, the king, and Shaul the king is like, huh? Who is this kid? And you're like, what do you mean, who is this kid? That kid is your musician. He's your muse. He sits all day in your throne room. What do you mean you don't know who he is? You know exactly who he is. Yeah, so Chazal explain, when he asks, who is he? Who's his father? He knows it's Yishai. He, after all, had to ask Yishai for permission. Shaul, even though he was the king, had to ask Yishai official permission to send his son to play in his court. And you say, why? He's the king. He can do whatever he wants. And that's very true. He can do whatever he wants. But here's the thing. Who's Yishai? Yishai's the Gadol Hador. Yishai's the Gadol Hador. If you are the king and you want the son of like the head of the Sanhedrin to be in your posse, you're going to call. Could you force him? Yeah, you could force him, but that's not a good idea at all. So Shaul knows exactly who David is, and he certainly knows who Yishai is. David's a little kid at the time, but Yishai is not a little kid. David's the youngest of Yishai. Yishai is an old. David has brothers who are officers in Shaul's army. Believe me, he knows them. The idea is, I know that David is the son of Yishai, and I know that Yishai is from Bethlehem, and I know that they come from the family of Yehuda, but we said Yehuda's got 3 remaining sons. 2 that refused to do Yibum, Aaron, Onan, Shelah, Peretz, and Zarach. If this kid comes from Shelah, we're good. If this kid comes from Zarach, we're good. If this kid comes from Peretz, he's going to be king. And Avner is like, I have no freaking clue where he comes from, but I'll give you a hint. He comes from Peretz. So now, when Boaz marries this girl, everyone says, may your house be like Beis Peretz. And now that we finish and he has the kid and they name him Oved, now we go back 1,000 years in history and we say, Eila told those Peretz. Peretz holidus Chetzron, Chetzron holidus Ram, Ram holidus Aminadav, Aminadav holidus Nachshon, Nachshon holidus Boaz, Boaz holidus Oved, Oved holidus Yishai, Yishai holidus David. Why? Because what are you talking about? You think that there was a happening that this guy Elimelech went to Moab and then he died and his daughter-in-law came back and she's a Moabite and she married this old guy and they had a kid. No. What kind of morons are humans? You humans don't see anything. Hashem has been watching these dominoes fall for 1,000 years. Eila told those Peretz. It goes all the way back. That Hashem has been planning Malchus David. The truth is, if you're a fan of Medrash, you know that Hashem was planning Malchus David from the second he spoke to Adam Arishon. Because Adam Arishon was the reason that David has any years in his life, for those of you who are familiar with that Medrash. Let's talk for a moment about this whole Yibum jazz. And we said that the story of Ruth, one of the themes is chesed. Because the first time that Boaz meets Ruth, he says to her, wow, I've heard the chesed that you've done with your mother-in-law. And then when she comes to him and tells him that he's going to marry her, he says, wow, your chastei ha'achron was bigger than your chastei harishon. And we explained that the whole reason that a Moabitess is allowed to go in to the klal of Eretz of Yisrael is that they do really have chesed. The whole thing is really about chesed. Well, why is Yibum considered chesed? The truth is, it's a lot more disturbing than that. It's a lot more disturbing than that. And this part of the shear is, I think, probably rated PG-13. So just be sensitive to whatever ears might be in the vicinity if you're listening to this or watching this. Do you know what incest is called in the Torah? Chesed. That's weird. Why would that be the case? That is so weird. You don't believe me? Pasuk says, and if a man and his sister were to be together, they're dead. It's punishable by death. Chesed. It's a chesed. I'd rather volunteer at the bake sale. That's also chesed. That's a better kind of chesed. Like, what? Chesed? And Rashi says that the Targum is cherpahu. It says cherpa. It's an embarrassment. And you're like, oh, that's wonderful because the Torah said chesed, but it meant cherpa. Here's the thing. Sometimes when Hashem is typing on his cosmic keyboard, he spells it. He didn't have spell check, so he meant to write cherpa, but it came out chesed. Oops. But thank God that the Targum could be there billions of years later to set him straight. No, that's ridiculous. Furthermore, do you know there's a pasuk? The pasuk says, "Olam chesed yibaneh." Chazal darshan the pasuk, and they say, if not for the fact that that the original humans were allowed to marry their sisters, you would have no humans. Well, what pasuk does the Gemorrah get that from? Olam chesed yibaneh. The world is built through chesed, meaning incest. What? So you see again this concept of chesed and strange is coming together. What's the idea? So here's the problem with chesed. If you don't have lunch because you can't afford it, you can't buy lunch, and I give you lunch, that's chesed. It's not a relationship. It's one-sided. I gave you, which means that within the chesed that I did for you is a cherpa, an embarrassment to you that you required the chesed. Your life needed me. And whether or not you pretend to be okay with that, it's not okay. Chesed's one-sided. There's only one type of chesed which doesn't have any cherpa. You know what chesed that is? Chesed shel emet. When you do chesed to a dead person, because he owes you nothing. You didn't take away anything from his life because he's dead. So that's chesed shel emes. But if you do chesed to a person, you're also causing cherpa. Oh, because it's one-sided. Good. What's the opposite of chesed? Opposite of chesed, listen to a Mishnah. Mishnah says, Sheli sheli v'shelcha shelcha zumeda beinonis. If I say, what's mine is mine, what's yours is yours, that's fine. And some say that's midat Sodom. Some say that's like Sodom. Oh, so either it's totally okay, or it's like the horrible city that got destroyed in hellfire. One or the other. I mean, what's the idea? Obviously, the idea is that Sodom was a place that was perhaps even 99% fine, 1% terrible. In what way was it fine and even great, and in what way was it terrible? It was fine and great in that everyone who comes into Sodom lives by the same rules. It's the NFL. Here's your salary cap. You eat what you kill. You eat what you kill, and you keep what you kill. You don't ask anybody for anything. Nobody gives you a leg up, and nobody's going to try to cheat you. In this place, everybody earns for themselves. Everybody earns their keep. It is a libertarian paradise. What's the one thing we won't tolerate in Sodom? Chesed. You don't give a person a pita. How could you give a person a pita? What's wrong with you? People have to earn their own pita. People have to be able to get up by their bootstraps. People have to be able to work for a pita. You want to employ that guy to mow your lawn? You give him a pita? Sei gesund und stark. But if he's going to sleep over your house for Shabbos, he better be paying you for the Airbnb. If he's not paying you for the Airbnb, what are you demeaning people by giving them handouts? What kind of a socialist are you? That's Sodom. Sodom built an incredibly powerful capitalistic society. The problem is, and by the way, if like one of my favorite books in high school was Atlas Shrugged. So I loved a lot of the things that she wrote in there. But here's the thing. I'll tell you where it went off the rails for me. If you live in a place where nobody gives anybody anything, that's one thing. Fine. I don't think that you can vote how much money I have to give that guy. I agree with that. Here's the problem. When you decide it's okay to kill somebody because they asked for a handout, now you've gone way overboard. Now you've gone to Sodom. Rand went to Sodom in Atlas Shrugged. She went to Sodom. That's Sodom. If you want to build a society, the society has to be able to stand on its own 2 feet. The king has to make sure that everyone can get fed by their own selves. That's why the king comes from Beit Lechem. That's why. However, if there's no chesed involved and you don't raise the people who couldn't do it, now you live in Sodom. So 99% of the time, what's mine is mine, what's yours is great. Oh, Brian! Mwah! Usually, what's mine is mine, what's yours is fantastic. But sometimes it's Mirat Sodom. Sometimes it's Sodom. Where does David come from? Specifically from Sodom. Why? Because he's the king. And if he's going to create a society where people feed themselves, you have to make sure that everybody can't just stand outside in a bread line. You don't want to build a society that looks like Eritrea. You want to build a society where everybody works and does well for themselves. However, and says the pasuk, David did tzedakah and mishpat. He had Sodom and chesed. Yes, it's true. He wants to make sure that everybody can fend for themselves, but those who can't, I will ensure that they can. I'll see to it that they'll be able to. That's why he comes from Sodom. Chesed, why is chesed incestuous? Because it's one-sided. Every reproductive relationship is by definition multi-sided. It's two-sided. Someone from this genetic tree and someone from that genetic tree. What's incest? One branch. Chesed. It's one input, not 2 inputs. That's why. They're analogous. They're the same thing. Chesed doesn't mean kindness. Chesed means one-sided input. Sometimes you have to have one-sided input, but it's rare. Now, sometimes, and it's rare, why not more often? Isn't it interesting? You mentioned that the name of one of the main characters in this book is Boaz. And the first time we met him, we explained that Boaz, Azut, Boaz, within him is what? Not strength. Doesn't mean strength. Azut doesn't mean strength. It means boldness. What does boldness mean? It means the willingness to do what is right in the face of people saying, what's wrong with you? You're crazy. Changes are bold. Changes are bold. Pritza is bold. And in some ways it's good, in some ways it's terrible. So it says, we say, Poretz Geder Yishachenu Nachash, a person who busts through a Geder, something that the rabbis outlawed, that he should get bitten by a snake. On the other hand, we say, a Melech Poretz Lasas Laderech, the king does bust down things. The king knows when to bust things down and when not to. Boaz was a person who understood that changes had to be made. Do you know what the biggest change had to be made was? That if we don't reintegrate this little Moabite lady, we're never going to be able to have a monarchy. If you look in the Beis HaMikdash, it's a beautiful thought that I heard from my uncle. In the Beis HaMikdash, there are 2 very, very famous pillars there. One on the right and one on the left. The one on the right is called Yachin. The one on the left is called Boaz. Yachin and Boaz. What does Yachin mean? Established. The one on the right is Yachin. Because 90% of the time, this is where we go. Straight as always. The one on the left is Boaz. The one on the left is boldness. Because 90% of the time, you stay the course. And sometimes you better have the otzma to change, to do what's necessary. This act of necessity brought about the Malchus. The reason, one of the reasons, if not the reason, that Chazal say that Shmuel wrote this book was so that there should be no doubt whatsoever that David is Melech Yisrael, and that he comes from these people that have been all the way from 1,000 years that God is waiting for this to happen. That's why we have this book. Now, the fact that we know that David is born on Shavuos, and the fact that it comes up, it just so happens to come up in the time of the Kitzir Sorim and the Kitzir Chitim. Like, is this coincidental? I don't think so. If it is indeed the king's job to keep people fed, and that's why the story takes place in Beit Lechem Yehuda, and Elimelech leaves when there was a Ra'av in Beit Lechem Yehuda. If that is the purpose and fact of the king, well, it happens through a field of Kitzir Sorim and Kitzir Chitim, which is at this time during the Omer when we have the Kitzir Sorim and the Kitzir Chitim. This is the time when the monarchy is established. I hope that you guys had as much fun as I did learning Rus this year. I thought it was pretty cool. I love it. We'll do it again next year, Be'ezer Hashem, and we will continue, God willing, tomorrow at 4 with we are in Shmuel Aleph, I think Perek Chaf Zayin, but much love.